Welcome back, friends. Today, the Evolutionary Factor team is once again together with our friend Alberto Caccialanza. Hi, Alberto. Hi, everyone. We already did an interview with you last year, and like Virgin Mary said, the situation wasn't changing and we were not coming back to normal. Even more, we are facing a peculiar situation because of this liquid. What do you think about it? Exactly. As I said, the situation wouldn't have stopped also because if everything stops, our rulers wouldn't have the excuse to get us into this famous Great One government, which apparently would solve every problem. The whole situation is totally run by a world's elite. A few years ago, they had interviewed a figure belonging to this elite, whose name is Milo Kandarian, and he said that 95% of the world population are useless eaters. I'm just repeating his words, and they should be put down like rabid dogs. As we all know, one of these world's elite projects is to level humanity. Back in 2015, still this man had patented the graphene oxide and called it himself the weapon which slowly leads over time to death. Now I'm going to read you these messages I brought here. Apparition, Luz de Maria, April 2021. You are living in dangerous times, during which the evil is spreading his liquid. I have changed myself this word. Preventing this liquid from leading you immediately pay attention to death. But it will do it slowly, alright? Everything connects. Carbonia Apparition, Sardinia, April 2021. Satan's fury is looming over this humanity, hardened in its sin, which does not realize that it is led by Satan, which is waiting to get the liquid in order to save itself from the deadly virus. Oh, poor children, so petty. You do not understand. You don't want to hear my voice. You don't rely on life. Instead, you believe in man and rely on him, disregarding the power of your God, the only one who can save you from all this ruin, the only one who can heal you, the only one who can give you a life of immense joy and infinite love. Oh man, you're like ostriches. You plunge your head under the sand in order not to hear me. By doing so, you shall fall into the lake of fire. This happened a little time ago, a few months ago. A Spanish university was able to analyze one of these liquids. It was sealed with a real aluminum cap and with the rubber too. It had been also guarded by a policeman. And guess what? These researchers have found the presence of the substance I told you about earlier. They have also found nanotubes, which stick to the synapse of our brain. Our brain cells exchange information, sounds, footage through impulses, and they are connected to each other through these synapses. So, these nanotubes stick to this synapse, and that has been all proven. This substance becomes magnetic once it reaches the temperature of our body, and it has such an electromagnetic band range. Guess what? It absorbs the waves and frequencies of these satellites already placed into the atmosphere. So, by means of these liquids containing these substances, they will turn us into some antennas which absorb information, pictures, and data emanated from these satellites. And they will be also able to control and manage our mood, our memory, our mind, our state of mind. Now I'm going to read you a few other messages which confirm what I've just told you. Trevignano Romano, Apparitions, Rome, April 2020. Dear children, fight for your freedom. You are about to be enslaved by evil dictators. Beware of the liquids and of all of the obligations, because they will not come from God but from Satan, which wants to rule your lives and your minds. Well, here again the liquid is connected with the mental manipulation, so as you can see, everything fits. A very little time ago as well, a nuclear physicist from the University of Budapest had found inside these liquids some nanotransmitters which, guess what, coincidentally are triggered by the frequencies and waves of these satellites. And they had already announced all of this. I will give you an example. In 1995, Dr. Pierre Gilbert, whose video is out there, since I own it, I have watched it, and I've listened to it. Well, talking about the One World Government project, he said that it will be mandatory to take the liquids. In these liquids, there will be liquid crystals which are going to get into your brain cells. They will be some kind of microreceptors which will become sensitive. I mean, they will activate with these waves and frequencies of low level, and you will not be able anymore to think freely. You'll be like zombies. And during his conversation, this doctor added that this was an old project. And I say again, that's a 1995 footage. They say it all to our face. A lot more than a year ago, I heard not a little, but a good amount of people telling me, I will never do it, I will never do it. Then, after the first threats came, they gave up right away. Just like Jesus said in the message I've read before, you lower your heads like the ostriches. That's true, that's what's happening. I mean, people know this liquid is no good, but at the first threat, they give up immediately. They lower their heads because they can't face this situation right as it is. So, Alberto, it is all connected with these satellites. Does the Heavenly Mother mention these satellites in her messages? Exactly so. First of all, these satellites have already been placed into the atmosphere, and Virgin Mary mentioned them. I'll read you a few messages. Carbonia, March 2021. The sky is surmounted by satellites ready to fall on your heads, O men of science. You won't have any way out because of the cruelty you brought on my children, because of your commitment to the destruction of this humanity. Exactly. As you see, everything fits. They have been mentioned in the messages, but as I told you before, they say it all in the face. I'll give you an example once again. The president of Chile, Sebastián Pinera, on a live TV broadcast, Take Care, therefore in front of millions of people. There is also a video on YouTube with Spanish subtitles. I've watched it and listened to it, so I'm just repeating what I've heard. Well, he said with great enthusiasm, thanks to these satellites, we can do what we never done before. That is, we can read your thoughts and we can input into you thoughts and emotions. So they say everything in our face, from A to Z. Luz de Maria, February 2021. The major interests of the earthly power know how to penetrate the subconscious of the human being, and they have already installed what they need for this purpose. The high-tech big antennas, which should apparently be receiving and emitting antennas, they are the tools to penetrate the subconscious of people to make them act against the divine will. For this careful, that's important, there are some antidotes. Remain in the true faith, behave and do right, love the Lord above all else, love your neighbor like yourself. This will stop the action of evil in you. If you retain the proper spiritual state, the presence of the Divine Spirit will set you free from this evil. Keep in mind there must be the proper spiritual state so that the Divine Spirit may act in you, and then you have the antidote against this rule. That's right, as I said before, the antennas technology combined with this liquid is for mental manipulation, but we should also take into account that these antennas have an effect also on the people without the liquid, of course with a much less intense power. I'll tell you a few examples. In 1982, the Falkland War broke out. The English army fought against the Argentinian army for the control of the Falkland Islands. The Argentinian soldiers were in good spirits, full of energy, locked and loaded, but right before clashing with the English, they would fall into depression, and so they lost the war. What happened? The English were emitting and directing waves of a certain frequency against the Argentinian soldiers. Then the latter were losing morale, and that's how they lost the war. So what to do? Our Lady just said it in this message. We must keep doing good works, real, actual works of charity towards the needy. We must always announce the truth, the gospel. We must spread these messages, pray the rosary, receive the Eucharist, so that we raise our spirituality. Therefore, we are able to host the light of Christ in us, which works like a shield. Therefore, these waves coming from the outside cannot touch us, nor they can undermine our mood. However, take care, this is something which applies to the people without liquid. I don't want to confuse the subjects. Yes, we got it. So, Alberto, can we say that this liquid is the prelude to the actions of the Antichrist? Exactly, that's right. We can say that this liquid is the first step which is taking us towards, let's say, the stamp of the Antichrist. Towards this, we may say, tiny subcutaneous grain of rice, let's call it like that, which they will put in humanity. Now I'm going to read you a few confirmation messages. Luz de Maria 2015. Very soon, they will kick off the obligation and the implantation of, let's say, the subcutaneous stamp, so that each of you accepts it. Know certainly that this is the seal of Satan, by which they not only will follow every step of yours and control your social life and your economic conditions, but they also will come to control your mind. So everything connects. And here comes a very important message. In such a way that even if that it is what you want inwardly, you will not be able to pronounce a single word of prayer, not even to ask for help from my son. Extremely important. The famous Gates had screened some slides on a wall in front of some militaries, and you could see some brains, some highlighted areas of the brain, and he had been spoken of the project of reducing the religious fanaticism. That's to say, the project of preventing people from utilizing those areas of the brain used to get in touch with God. I'll give you a few examples. When we feel instinctive emotions, we use the primitive area of our brain, the brain stem. When we formulate ideas, we use the cortex. When we pray, instead, we use more the pineal gland. Now, with this subcutaneous stamp, they will decide when we can use or cannot use some specific areas of our brain at their will. So, with this stamp, they will give us no coming back. Because when everything will be connected with these satellites, including our brains, as the president of Chile said, they will be able to read our thoughts, but also to see the kind of anger we are in. They'll even see if we are willing to remove this stamp, so they can even anticipate our moves. The doctor and scientist Robert Baker wrote a book about this topic. He performed some experiments on living frogs, and he said that it's possible to artificially induce cardiac arrests. And he said you can do the same with human beings by sending microwaves to the heart. Then you can provoke these cardiac arrests. So they can do whatever they want of us, and once again, even anticipate our moves. The last message I've read said, even if that is what you want inwardly, you would not be able to pronounce a single word of prayer, not even to ask for help from my son Jesus. Carbonia, 2020. A frightening scenario is looming upon Earth. Pay attention. Ask for my help. I cannot intervene without your consent. 2016, still Carbonia. Whoever will call me Father and ask for my help, I'll rescue him or her. My angels will get to safety anyone who will recognize me as the one true God. Valeria Copponi, Apparitions, Rome, 2012. You cannot mess around with the enemy. His intelligence is beyond yours, and his evil has no limits. Be very careful, because his trap is invisible to man's eyes. Now we understand why the Heavenly Mother said that Satan has a nastiness with no limits. The stamped people, even if they want to, they will not be able anymore to ask for the help of Jesus Christ, of the angels, of the army of Jesus, of the army of the Almighty Lord, which is the only army that can set us free from the slavery of Satan. And it's also written in the Acts of the Apostles. When Peter was arrested, the community prayed for him. And what happened? An angel of light appeared in his cell, opened the door, and then he could escape. Also, in 1914, the English organized a day of national prayer because the English cavalry was in danger of succumbing to the German cavalry. So, what's happened? Some huge, majestic men, completely clothed in white, appeared. In other words, angels. They frightened the German army and made it run away. Also in London, a girl was coming back from university. It was late afternoon. It was dark. She walked through a park. She was alone, and she met a killer, which was arrested later. She was afraid, so she prayed to her guardian angel, and this angel manifested himself through a human physical body. The killer got scared and didn't do anything to this girl. Therefore, if we pray to them, if we summon them, they will intervene. Otherwise, if we don't summon them, they won't intervene. So Satan has found a way to create a clear perpetual division between us and Jesus Christ, between us and the angels, his army. Unfortunately, I've also heard some people saying, but yeah, come on, just do good works, since Jesus shall judge mankind by our good works. But it's not exactly like that. Let me explain. Yes, Jesus will judge by the good works, but the stamped people will have no power over their own actions, and they will not do good works anymore. And I'll give you another confirmation. Carbonia, 2021. Watch out, man, the weapon of horror is in the hands of the fools. Soon they will enslave the human being for good. They will turn you into robots, which can be remote controlled as they please. Luz de Maria 2012. Then already a while ago, the implantation of, let's say, the subcutaneous grain. What matters is that we understand each other. So this implantation is the control over man. It is the dehumanization. What you believed was far away is just around the corner. So, human beings will become inhuman. Some remote-controlled robots, some zombies. They will actually become nothing. And it is also written in the book of Revelation that people who will receive this stamp will not make it. So I advise you all not to make interpretations which are too articulated. And let's evaluate certain aspects of the scripture in a rather simple way. And once and for all, let's reject these works of Satan firmly. So Alberto, is there a link between all that you have told us so far and the arrival on the scene of the Antichrist? Of course, I've brought you here a few messages on this topic too, which I'm going to read now. Carbonia, 2015. Everything is coming to an end, and soon they will declare me false. Soon they will replace me with another God. A Messiah introduced by the man of sin. That's very important. Luz de Maria 2021. The son of perdition continues to keep his earthly power thanks to his own elite, while waiting for showing up to my people, although my people does not want him. He is going to invade the minds of everyone through his worldwide presentation, which is going to happen all over the earth at the same moment. Yeah, the Antichrist has to manifest himself as a new God, as a man God, as the first Messiah who has ever come to earth. Now, in order to change the beliefs of this atheist mankind, and on the other side the strong religious convictions of the other mankind, a bunch of miracles are not enough. I'll give you an example once again. In the apparition of Turcovka, which were taking place right south from the border with Poland, the father of a family went there to that place with her daughter, a 13-year-old girl. This little girl had surgery on her head when she was 6 years old. It was a very complex surgical operation and she went blind, literally blind. She couldn't see anything. There was nothing to do. Now, this 13-year-old girl washed her face with the water of that place of apparitions there in Turcovka. And what's happened? She could instantly see again. In front of all people, she started screaming and running to all of the people who witnessed this great miracle and saying, I can see, I can see. Her father was very excited. He grabbed her, he stopped her, and he put his hand in front of her and asked, what is this? And she replied, that's your hand. Then he took a flower, he put it before her, asking, what is this? And she replied, that's a rose. He asked which color, and she replied, red, and then everyone burst into tears. The people who were there understood, but the other people kept on criticizing these apparitions. So, as I said earlier, a bunch of miracles are not enough to change the beliefs of an atheist and careless humanity. Now we understand the reason why the pandemic is global. The reason why all of humanity must take the liquid. The reason why all of humanity will receive the stamp as well, except for the chosen ones, of course. Now we understand why, not only in order to control us mentally, to control our emotions, our moods, our actions, not only in order to create this clear division between us and Jesus Christ, between us and the angels. They will also do it to make sure that when the Antichrist will manifest himself, all of mankind is mentally conditioned and invaded and under the impression of having an inner connection with the first real Messiah who has come to earth. In fact, we have also seen the Elite card game, and there is a card entitled Messiah. In this card you can see some adult people and some children who are looking at the sky at the same time, with their eyes wide open and with an open mouth, therefore in a state of mental conditioning, in a state of hypnosis. Moreover, we have also seen the Blue Beam Project. I have personally seen a document on a YouTube video where 4 stages are listed which serve to prepare the establishment of a one-world religion whose head will be the very Antichrist. In one of these stages, they talk about how to use this science, this technology. So the answer is, all that is happening is first of all the work of the Antichrist and serves to prepare step by step his manifestation in front of all humanity. So Alberto, with all of these impositions, I'd say devious impositions which are restricting our freedom, people are obviously afraid of the future. They're even afraid of not finding food. Yes, that's right, but you should not be afraid, because you can find all of the solutions in the Gospel and in the Scriptures. That's true. People will not even be able to go to work. For example, De Luca said, in an imposing and authoritarian tones, no liquid, no work. That's absolutely true. People will not be able to go to the shops, to the supermarkets. However, St. Paul said that Jesus steps into our weaknesses. He reminded us, if I really wanted to brag, I would brag about my weaknesses, because that's where Jesus steps into. So, when we will be discarded by the whole world because of all of these impositions, we are going to be extremely weak. Moreover, we should also remember that in Revelation 13 it is written that they could not buy or sell, but in Revelation 14 it is also written that the people who will accept the stamp, they shall perish. Therefore, we should always side with the Scriptures, and we should always side with the Marian Messages, which call us for rejecting always the works of Satan without so many mincing words. However, we should not be afraid. Why? Paratico, Apparitions, Brescia, 2002. Do not fear trouble. The good Lord feeds the birds of the air. He will not fail to provide for you. Carbonia 2020. Children, do not worry if there will be nothing to eat nor to drink. My Lord will be your caterer, and you will miss nothing if only your gaze will be addressed to him. Oliveto Citra, Apparitions, Salerno, 2015. My children will be protected by my angels, and my beloved children will want for nothing, because I, their God love, I will provide for each one of them. Once something exceptional happened to Mother Speranza, a saint nun, and I'm not saying saint because she's been made saint by the church, but she was a saint because she used to do great works of charity for the needy, the orphans, and the undernourished people during World War II. She had a big canteen. One day, some pilgrims were going there to eat. At the last minute, they realized they are out of oil. They couldn't dress the pasta nor the salad. They couldn't cook meat. So, it was a 10 hectoliters barrel of oil. They turned on the tap and nothing came out of it. So they opened the top cover and looked down. There was nothing, nil. From a rational point of view, they couldn't find any solution because they couldn't find another 10 hectoliters barrel of oil in the blink of an eye. So what did they do? The nuns went to the church near the canteen together with Mother Speranza. They started praying intensely. People saw them praying with great focus. Then these people heard the nuns scream. What was going on? The nuns came back to the canteen and saw that the 10 hectoliters barrel of oil, which shortly before was empty, now was completely full of oil. They even got scared and screamed. These are the angels. They can multiply anything. Objects, oil, food. So I remind you all to always pray the angels, but do it. Ask for the intercession of Mother Speranza too. However, I remember that Mother Speranza used to put into practice the real gospel, not a do-it-yourself gospel. So put into practice the gospel, you too. This way there's no need to be afraid of anything. Alberto, there's much talk of refuges. What are they? Yes, it's a very important topic, but at the same time there is some confusion about it. I've heard some friends, but also other people, talking about these eco-villages, or about buying lands in isolated tactical locations, possibly in the mountains, then stock up on food, water, medicines, buy some cattle, and then bring the cattle to these places. It's not like that. The refuges are not physical places. If someone tries to build a protected area for his own survival, he's not gonna make it. This refugee is going to fall down, and I'll explain you why. Luz de Maria, 2019. Do not stockpile, listen carefully, food to be allocated to the places that someone has prepared for the times of persecution and tribulation. If you have not prepared yourself spiritually beforehand, foods, medicines, money, and all that you will stock up on will not do you any good if you are not real temples of love. Paratico, Apparitions, Brescia, 2001. How can you prepare the arks that I have asked you for if you are not first totally in the light and in the grace? If you create a refugee and get some supplies for your own survival, it may be considered an act of selfishness, so you stay in the dark, and the dark will not save you from the darkness of this world and of these times. If you get converted in a very real sense, this is works of charity for the needy, prayers, works of truth, charitable works for your neighbor, and you join other people in the light, then you are going to create a refugee of light. The refugees are pillars of light. They are places blessed by the light of Jesus Christ. Therefore, your very houses can be refuges. Carbonia 2020. Through your prayers, they will seek help from you. They will knock on your doors and come to your houses, those houses that they will put in your hands, my houses. That's to say, your houses will be Jesus' houses because they will be touched by the light of Jesus. My children, your houses will be points of light on this earth. They will come for you, to ask you for a piece of bread, to seek help. Trevignano Romano, Rome 2021. I will wrap you in my mantle and I will protect you. Your houses and refuges will be protected. I will guide to my refuges of those who will convert in that moment. Pay attention. When they will hear the shout of the Father, and they will say trembling, Father, forgive me, because I have sinned, I bow to Thee, I humble myself to Thee, I am a sinner. Luz Maria, 2021. Every refuge of the Sacred Hearts will welcome all of the people who have to get there. In the same way, the houses consecrated to the Sacred Hearts are and will be protected if you are living in the fulfillment of the divine will. Pay attention, the ark is that one of the active prayer, action, and love of neighbor. So, the refuges can be your houses. This message has reaffirmed what I said. That is, if there is prayer, active action, help for your neighbor, spreading the truth, so consecrate your houses to Jesus and Mary and make them pillars of light. A few years ago, in San Bonico, Piacenza, in the place where I myself got converted, a lady made a witness. Every night in her house, she sat in a chair to read books. Behind this chair, there was a big heavy closet containing other books. One night, unlike the other times, instead of sitting on that chair to read, she sat in her own room, her bedroom. Precisely that night, the closet fell on the chair, destroying it. That's to say, this lady, this woman, was in the light, and then she pulled away the negative event. Because, of course, if she'd stayed on that chair, the closet would fall on her head and she would come to a bad end. So, if you step into the light, you keep away negativity and misfortunes. It's like two magnets. When you turn them around, they repel each other. The same goes for these refuges of light. They will keep away negativity and misfortunes. The same applies also for the people who will step into the refuges. The people in the dark, who will still live in the darkness, will not be able to walk into these refuges because they will be pushed away from the light, and to them some events will happen which are going to prevent them from getting into these protected places. In fact, in the messages I have just read, it's written that the people who will humble themselves, who will repent, therefore those who will pass from darkness to light, will be able to come into these places. The other ones will not make it. Carbonia 2020. None who is not in me will be able to enter them. I will be the one to decide those to whom I will open the doors of my refuges. When they will get close, it will not be you to open the doors, but me, the righteous judge. So you can travel to the most remote places of this world, but if you don't get converted, you cannot enter them, and you will not save yourself. The refuges are pillars of light, so only people of light will enter them. It's a spiritual law, and there's no escaping it. So, Alberto, after all that you have told us today, I guess all of the people are going to wonder, what should we do? Right, also about that, I brought you a few messages that I'm going to read. Apparitions, Jacareí, Brazil, 2018. There are many souls to save, my children. So now you must be brave soldiers. Pay attention. Fast and quick. And you have to bring my word everywhere. First of all, the messages we have seen so far are of incalculable importance, although a lot of people are careless and unaware of this. Let's do what Our Lady asked, with speed and swiftness. Let's spread them everywhere. Also because people are taking paths with no way out and no way back. With these liquids and the stamp which is coming. So, let's hurry up. And she said everywhere. Now, you've probably already heard me in my previous videos. Every time I ask for the translation of these videos in other languages, English, French, and so on. I cannot speak other languages, so this specific work is all up to the conscience of the Italians who have awakened, who know these messages, and who can speak other languages. This is all up to them. Alberto, people speak of hope for the future. Do you think they are facing the whole situation in the right way? I do not think that people are facing this situation, in other words, this battle, in the right way. Hope is useless. Virgin Mary has always given us precise instructions and laws to put into practice. For example, all who draw the sword will die by the sword. If we do not reform, if we do not change our actions, all that is negative, all of the evil will come back. I can give you a clear and glaring example. In Fatima in 1917, Our Lady talked about the persecution of the Church by communism, and especially by Russia. Now, she didn't say you must hope it does not happen. Instead, she had made arrangements to be carried out. That is to consecrate Russia to the heart of Mary. We didn't carry that out, and this is very bad. In the present messages of today, the Holy Mother said, how much harm you could have saved yourself if only you had consecrated Russia to my Immaculate Heart. So what are we going to do? Ask the Vatican? I don't really think so, because they have hidden a crucial part of this very important secret themselves. But there is something new. The Polish Church has approved the apparitions in Trevignano Romano that we all know. So they showed openly their clear closeness to Jesus. What should we do? Let's ask the Polish Church to help us spread this request in the world. Because if we don't do anything, we won't get anything. But if we do something, for sure we will get something. So let's call the attention of the Polish Church. Carbonia, 2010. Try to stick together. I will never tire of repeating it. Keep together more than ever, because you'll find strength right in the uniqueness of love. 2014. Get ready to live in communities just like real sons of God. Tony Laggetta is a visionary from Lecce. It's a group of visionaries who are receiving messages, and Jenny received this one in 2014. Invoke the Virgin Mary. Satan is afraid of this. Once again I tell you, be strong. Satan does not want your unity. Satan is afraid of Virgin Mary. In fact, for example, during exorcism, when you pray the Rosary, the very exorcist said that this prayer has the same power of the prayers of exorcism. So Satan does not want our union and does not want that we unite together, connected with Mary. Michelino Marcovecchio, Mount St. Onofrio, Umbria, 2013. God the Father asks you for this unity. So as you see, it's a persistent message in many apparitions. He asks you for this strength in order to be stronger in the faith, because in this period Satan is very enraged. Trevignano Romano 2017, and here as well she repeats it. My children, all that awaits you will be very tough, but do not forget the immense protection you will get from the sky. As I told you before, if you will be faithful to my Jesus, be righteous and united in joy, love and charity, remember that you will need each other. It's clear she plainly asked for it. However, Virgin Mary asks and people do not act. We have seen the street protests, which unfortunately are going to get caught into a spiral of violence. Then, what happens? People come back home and must face alone all of their problems. Or there are the WhatsApp and Telegram groups, but more often than not, they exchange videos and news, which are no doubt important, but there is not a real unity. My own goal is that the awakened people who are waiting for the second coming of Jesus unite each other in a practical way. They know each other, so I have launched an initiative on YouTube. In my channel, I have created a folder called Let's Join Together, and I'm telling you, all of you, watch these videos very carefully. Why? If the people watching these videos will also put that into practice and become responsive, we could create a real and strong unity. For example, there are 100 people in Parma who are waiting for the second coming of Jesus. These 100 people must join each other with a mail address or a phone number. They must know each other. If in Turin there are 500 people waiting for the return of Christ, these people must get to know each other again with a mail address or a phone number. It's not that hard if you think about it. We can do it easily, but there is little response. Then, once people join each other, they can create communities, as I read earlier in that message. They can help the needy. We will help each other. That's what Our Lady said. You will need each other, or you can have prayer meetings, rosary meetings. But there is always this very huge problem. Unless a bomb goes off under their houses, unless they are missing their pasta dish, unless they get really scared, they do almost nothing. For pity's sake, I'm not saying this to criticize, but this is what I've seen. Moreover, I hope that this initiative will spread out of Italy too, so I hope as well these videos to be translated in other languages. What to say, Alberto? We are very glad to have been able to interview once again. We thank you for all that you do and that you disseminate about these topics, especially in these times that is crucial. And let's hope to see each other again. I'm the one thanking you. It's been an honor for me. For sure we are going to see each other again. You have been very kind. Thank you very much.